Guys, the final thing that we learned here over the 2023 season, and this is a personal favorite, near and dear to my heart, defense still wins championships. Obviously, the Michigan Wolverines got it done. They had one of the top overall defenses in the entire country. When tasked with the question, who wins in an unstoppable force and an immovable object, the immovable object came out on top. But Garrett, as I kind of look at the rest of the landscape, it wasn't just Michigan that was a defensive stalwart. Honestly, as you look through much of the top 10, I think you have to get all the way to 12 in the final AP poll to LSU before you get to a team that you went, yeah, they didn't use defense for anything. That top 11, like defense, either was kind of their calling card or something that they markedly improved this season.
Well, and you needed, a Heisman winner in Jane Daniels to get you there too. So like
Right.
there's a lot that goes into the whole thing, right? So for me, when I look at this, I've always been a guy who appreciates watching good defense. I know that so many people only watch the ball, so you don't understand watching a good defense clamp down. And that's not me trying to like, oh, you're all dumb for not watching. But like I like watching
Good
the
for good
defense
for
play
business to
football.
avoid that.
Right, yeah. No, but I'm saying, like, I like to watch the defense play football. Whenever you get those, like, stalemate games where just it's 9-6 at the end, like, those are fun for me because that shows not just, oh, you had some plays that worked and some guys who can run down the field and blow up past coverages. You had to earn every yard that you gained on the ground and fight the field position battle. And there's something about that that feels fun and intense and trying to kind of grind against, two teams kind of grinding the gears to get down to one side, then to the other side. And there's a huge penalty, so it picks up 15 yards. You feel like it swings the field position battle in a huge way. Those games are fun for me to watch. And I know that they don't draw in mass amounts of eyeballs, but those are fun to watch. And I think when you watch the national championship game, there was something fun about watching the Michigan defense just swarm and really affect Penix and the rest of the Washington offense, who up to that point in the season kind of did what they wanted to do pretty much at will. Sometimes they played down to their competition, but there were massive stretches of that season where they just F it, Adunze's down there somewhere, right? And you just kind of throw it up. And I think we even joked week one when we saw him, it was just a hey, drop back and then just flick it 50 yards and see what happens. And so
Yeah.
for me, it was fun to watch the Michigan defense force them to try something else and force them to try to grind it out on the ground or find a way to make the screens work and really fight for every single yard. It was fun watching that happen. And obviously Michigan came out on top. I think they were the better team, but a massive part of that was how dominant their defense was. It's cool to see the defenses still matter. It's cool to see that the defenses and recruiting on the defensive side and really putting effort into that side of the ball can really make the difference. Whereas it doesn't matter if you have the Heisman winner in Jane Daniels or the number one pick in Caleb Williams. If your defense sucks, you're not going to do it.
Yeah, and I think what you're hitting on there is really the important thing because we can watch two defenses duke it out in a 9-6 game in the Big Ten West all year long, and it's not championship caliber football, right?
Sure, yeah.
We it does matter who they are stopping. And what was most impressive about Michigan throughout this whole year was they faced some really good offenses. They faced the Ohio State offense, they faced a Alabama offense, and they faced maybe the best offense in the country in Washington. And their defense just held their own every single time against talented players on the other side of the ball. And yeah, that's what made this Michigan defense stand out amongst the rest. They were able to get it done against elite competition on the other side of the ball.
Totally agree. I think and college football is cyclical, just like all things, but I think we've gone through the air raids, the wide open offenses, and there's still a lot of success there, right? Spreading out the defense, there are a lot of mismatches that you can pick on when that's your offensive strategy. But for me, it's fun to see this swing again to physicality, to having to win at the line of scrimmage. I mean, heck, that's why a team like Texas was able to go to the college football playoff. They finally got over the hurdle of not being able to compete in the trenches when it was clutch time, when they absolutely needed to lock down the running game, to get to the quarterback, to protect their own quarterback throughout much of the season. That was finally true of a Longhorns team. And I think it's a blueprint, a template that a lot of teams are looking actively to replicate, especially now that the portal is so active, right? Offensive and defensive linemen are coveted now through the portal, especially if you can get those veterans, those fourth year juniors, those fifth year seniors. Those are the guys that these elite coaches are trying to go recruit and then win national championships through.
Well, and I can already hear the refrain, oh, well, what about all those great offensive teams that won championships? What about like 2019 LSU? That was just a good offense that beat everybody. Their defense was 32nd in the country that year, and they only gave up 21 points a game, and they only gave up like 120 on the ground. Like those aren't elite numbers necessarily, but those are numbers that are by far good enough, especially when you're playing in the SEC. Those are incredible numbers to bring to a game against Georgia, a game against Clemson, or whoever else you might want to play in that situation. That's good enough to win those games, to let your offense that is so much more talented shine, because your defense is doing big things too. They're what was it? It was the Peach Bowl against Oklahoma. They won that 63-28, and then they win over Clemson 42-25. Those are both low numbers relative to what the rest of college football was letting them do. Low numbers for scoring for that Oklahoma and Clemson team.
Yeah.
So, like, even in that example, or pick any other example, pick any of the Bama teams that have won championships. They might have had great offenses, but they also shut down opposing teams, right? Like the COVID team, the 2020 team, when it was they played Ohio State in the championship game, they shut down Justin Fields and the rest of that Ohio State offense. Like they shut him down. They didn't let him do very much until the game was kind of out of reach, and they kind of let off on the gas pedal just so the clock would run. So defense does win championships. You cannot win with an elite offense and no defense to speak of. You cannot win like that.
At the very least, it's very, very difficult, even more rare to do it that way.
Gracious him. How about that?